Everybody, is it the reason why you guys are not paying whatever that vendor is?
What was it for?
Once a trailblazer, now embattled, the rise and fall of Tiffany Henyard, once celebrated as Dalton's first female mayor and a symbol of progress, now finds herself at the center of a political firestorm that has shaken the small Illinois village to its core. Her historic rise to leadership, breaking gender barriers and inspiring many, has been overshadowed by serious allegations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and abuse of power. Henyard's tenure, once marked by promise and ambition, is now under intense scrutiny. Residents and critics alike have raised concerns about her leadership, citing troubling accusations that she appointed unqualified allies to key positions to consolidate her control and advance her own interests. Among the most serious claims are allegations of embezzling state funds for personal luxuries, further deepening the rift between her and the community. What was once seen as an empowering political journey has now become, in the eyes of many, a selfish quest to maintain power at the expense of the people she was elected to serve. Public outrage is growing, with residents expressing feelings of betrayal, disillusionment, and a deep mistrust not only toward Henyard, but also the political system that enabled her rise. The controversy took a dramatic turn when Henyard's former lover testified against her, providing crucial evidence that lent credibility to the corruption claims. His testimony intensified public backlash, leaving even her staunchest supporters struggling to defend her actions. Despite dismissing the accusations as politically motivated attacks aimed at tarnishing her image, Henyard's defense is weakening under the weight of mounting evidence. Her opponents argue that the scandal exposes a broader failure in leadership and governance, framing it as a consequence of unchecked power and a flawed political structure. Investigations have revealed that Henyard allegedly bypassed Dalton's board of trustees to make illegal appointments to influential positions, a blatant disregard for the legal processes meant to protect the integrity of local government. These revelations point to systemic abuse and a troubling pattern of decision-making that has compromised the very foundation of public trust. As the scandal unfolds, the scale of the alleged corruption appears to be far greater than initially suspected. With the FBI now involved, the possibility of federal charges looms, casting an even darker shadow over Henyard's political future. Dalton, once hopeful under Henyard's leadership, now faces an uncertain path forward. The damage to the community's trust is profound, and the village must reckon with the reality of how such misconduct went unchallenged for so long. The political saga of Tiffany Henyard stands as a stark reminder of how power can corrupt, and how quickly a promising legacy can unravel when accountability is lost. As investigations continue and more details emerge, all eyes remain on Henyard, her supporters, and her critics, watching closely as the future of both her career and Dalton itself hangs in the balance.
I've got from both sets from there. Inside I have from the United States District Courtroom.
Tiffany Henyard, from trailblazer to controversy, a village in crisis. Tiffany Henyard's political journey, once hailed as a groundbreaking achievement, has now become a cautionary tale of defiance, controversy, and the erosion of public trust. As Dalton, Illinois' first female mayor, her election was seen as a historic milestone. But what began with promise and celebration has since unraveled into a troubling saga of alleged corruption, legal battles, and growing public disillusionment. Henyard's early days in office were marked by controversial attempts to appoint loyalists to high-ranking positions, including village attorney, police chief, and village administrator. These moves, widely viewed as efforts to consolidate power, quickly faced legal challenges. A judge blocked the appointments, citing a failure to follow proper legal procedures. Instead of adhering to the ruling, Henyard doubled down, continuing to surround herself with unqualified individuals, escalating tensions between her administration, the judicial system, and the village board. Her refusal to comply with court orders signaled a disregard for the rule of law. This defiant stance, paired with a growing circle of loyalists, gave rise to accusations that Henyard prioritized personal control over competent governance. Critics argued that her leadership style was increasingly autocratic, rooted not in service to the community, but in preserving her authority. What followed was a wave of conflict and division. Henyard's once hopeful supporters began to distance themselves as her actions grew more confrontational. Headlines highlighted her standoffs with village trustees, her legal defiance, and her reluctance to engage in cooperative leadership. The optimism surrounding her historic win had turned into a community-wide crisis of confidence. But the most explosive development came when a former associate, once considered peripheral, stepped forward with a damning testimony. The witness accused Henyard of gross abuse of power, alleging that she used public funds to finance a lavish lifestyle, including luxury vacations and personal purchases. According to the testimony, while vital community programs remained underfunded, taxpayer dollars were diverted for her personal gain. The allegations didn't stop there. The witness also claimed Henyard accepted bribes and made secret deals with local businesses, offering favorable treatment and bypassing regulations in return. If proven true, these actions would constitute serious violations of public trust, revealing a mayor who may have weaponized her position for self-enrichment rather than community betterment. Residents, many of whom earned significantly less than Henyard, were left stunned. At a time when the village was in dire need of funding for education, infrastructure, and public health, the idea that their tax dollars may have been misused hit a nerve. The sense of betrayal was palpable. The growing scandal raised broader questions. Were these isolated incidents or part of a larger culture of corruption within her administration? How deep did the misconduct go? Had political connections allowed her to avoid scrutiny for far too long? As the investigation gained momentum, now joined by federal authorities, Henyard denied all accusations, dismissing them as politically motivated attacks. However, her ties to powerful individuals and her control over various aspects of local governance fueled suspicions that she had long operated with impunity. Public demands for transparency and accountability grew louder. Residents, already shaken by Henyard's earlier defiance of legal rulings, now called for a thorough investigation into her finances and political dealings. Many feared that the damage to Dalton's political integrity could be long-lasting. The potential fallout is significant. Henyard now faces the possibility of criminal charges, and her once promising political career is hanging by a thread. For Dalton, the consequences go beyond one person. The scandal threatens to undermine years of civic progress and destroy the fragile trust between government and its people. What was once a story of triumph has become a sobering example of how unchecked ambition and power can corrode public institutions. As Dalton grapples with the aftermath, residents are left asking, can the village recover? And how do they ensure this never happens again? Tiffany Henyard's fall from grace is not just a personal reckoning, it's a defining moment for the entire community. Her story now stands as a stark reminder that leadership, without accountability, can quickly become a vehicle for harm rather than hope.
Those invoices lead to more questions, and sometimes we don't get answers to those questions. And so it's not about clickbait, it's about just...
Mayor Tiffany Henyard's scandal takes a shocking turn as courtroom chaos unfolds. The political storm surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard took a stunning and unexpected turn when her boyfriend, once seen as a peripheral figure, took the stand in a dramatic courtroom revelation that sent shockwaves through the village of Dalton. As he began testifying, deeply personal and damaging details about Henyard's private life were exposed, sparking immediate chaos inside the courtroom. Visibly blindsided, Henyard erupted in an emotional meltdown, screaming at her boyfriend and disrupting the proceedings. The outburst left spectators stunned and further cemented the growing perception that she was spiraling out of control, not just emotionally, but politically. Public reaction, outrage, and backlash. Word of the courtroom drama spread like wildfire. Residents, already frustrated by the mounting allegations against Henyard, were enraged by what many saw as proof that she could no longer lead effectively. Social media erupted with condemnation, with one particularly scathing comment declaring, "She's as corrupt as they come, she belongs in prison." Once seen as a historic figure for becoming Dalton's first female mayor, Henyard was now at the center of a crisis that seemed to deepen with every passing day. Tensions escalate at village meeting. The fallout intensified when Henyard arrived late to a packed village board meeting, relocated to a Park District building due to overwhelming public turnout. Her attempt to address the crowd was drowned out by a chorus of boos, reflecting the community's growing anger. Rather than addressing concerns or acknowledging the scandal, she pressed forward with her agenda, further inflaming tensions. As she received invoices during the meeting, raising new questions about her spending, many in the crowd demanded answers about how their tax dollars were being used. Accusations of financial mismanagement continued to pile up, and trust in her leadership was rapidly eroding. Accusations of lawbreaking and lack of transparency. Meanwhile, new allegations emerged that Henyard had violated state transparency laws in an effort to conceal her actions. Critics accused her of deliberately hiding information from the public. Instead of addressing these serious concerns, Henyard attempted to shift the narrative, framing the entire ordeal as a politically motivated attack. She posted a cryptic message on Facebook, saying, "I need all my black sheep to stand with me. If God is for us, who can be against us?" The message was a clear attempt to rally support, but it also highlighted her growing isolation. Her once solid base of supporters was rapidly shrinking as public outrage reached new heights. A federal investigation unfolds. Behind the scenes, a federal investigation that had been quietly underway for nearly a year began to intensify. Investigators were reportedly looking into questionable financial dealings, including potential misuse of public funds by Henyard and members of her inner circle. Her boyfriend's explosive courtroom testimony only added fuel to the fire, suggesting that Henyard's administration may have engaged in deeper levels of corruption than previously known. Whispers of a fractured inner circle began to grow louder as former allies distanced themselves to protect their own reputations. A government in crisis. As the investigation widened, more troubling details surfaced about Henyard's spending habits and alleged use of public resources for personal luxury. The community, already struggling economically, was outraged to learn that tax dollars may have been diverted to fund vacations, lavish purchases, and under-the-table deals with local businesses. Calls for her resignation intensified. One village trustee broke ranks in a public meeting and urged Henyard to step down, stating that Dalton needed real leadership to recover from the crisis. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot also weighed in, criticizing Henyard's reckless management and calling the village's finances a disaster. A fall from grace. The scandal has turned Henyard's once promising career into a cautionary tale. What began as whispers of corruption has erupted into a full-blown political meltdown. The federal investigation has exposed not just a pattern of mismanagement, but potential criminal wrongdoing. Despite this, Henyard remains defiant, continuing to deny the allegations and framing them as part of a plot to derail her re-election. But with public trust in tatters and scrutiny from all angles, her ability to govern has been seriously undermined. What comes next? The town of Dalton now stands at a crossroads. The community that once celebrated Henyard's rise is now left to pick up the pieces of a fractured government. With more evidence expected to surface, the question remains, will Henyard step down voluntarily, or will she be forced out? As the federal investigation continues, the future of Dalton and its leadership remains uncertain. But one thing is clear, the trust once placed in Tiffany Henyard has been deeply shaken, and the road to recovery for both her reputation and the village will be long and uncertain.